Welcome to Vox Populi. It's the 27th of January, the year of our Lord 2020. This is episode 136. If we haven't made your morning cheery enough, right, between now the impeachment is now total throwdown, we're going to complete war with the Democrats and the opposition party. We then had, very seriously, the War Room Pandemic episode 2 was a showstopper, and Dr. Stephen Hatfield and Dr. Bradley Thayer and Bill Gertz between them with our in-guest studios, studio guest Simone Gao from New Tang Dynasty Television, Colonel Tony Schaefer, and Jack Maxey. Okay, here's who we got now. We got Jason Miller has now rejoined us. Jason's been out into the war room watching developments. We're going for 2 hours a day on Vox Populi. Take us right up to the beginning of the defense of President Trump, starting at 1 o'clock, and then we'll be back with another War Room impeachment at 5 o'clock to have a summary of what's going on today. So much happening on the War Room side with book deal Bolton, also in pandemic. So we got Colonel Tony Schaefer's agreed from the London Center, they've been working on this for a couple of years now. Dr. Hatfield's been working on it for 10 years. He was the lead researcher at the Army Biodefense Research, and what he had to tell us was chilling a few minutes ago about the pandemic and Spanish flu back in 1918 at the end of World War I, which was a horrific event 100 years ago. Our number is 888-480-5646. We have Mary in Charlottesville. No, I think we lost.
We have Ray from Michigan.
Ray from Michigan. Ray from Michigan, you're on Vox Populi. How can we help you, sir?
Mr. Bannon.
Yes, sir.
Can I take the con? It's Ray in Michigan.
Yeah, I'll keep the deck. You take the con. Hey, thanks for calling in, Ray. How you doing, sir?
Great. Hey, we've got the con. The Republicans have the con now in the Senate. We need to go back to full trial in the Senate. We need to lead with the Biden video at the Council on Foreign Relations. We need to play that and let them know. Let's bring the 88 millimeter howitzer to bear on the Democrats. And I'm going to be quick because I know you got a lot of callers waiting. I got a little patent quote for you. We're going to keep moving. Is that clear? We're going to attack tonight. We're going to attack tomorrow morning. And if we are not victorious, let no one come back alive.
By the way, so Ray, that quote came from Patton when they pivoted and went to the relief of Bastogne for the 101st Airborne at the Battle of the Bulge. They said nobody, the British. Everybody, the French said nobody could relieve Bastogne, I think, in 72 hours. And Patton said, hey, we're rolling, we're going to attack.
I could attack with 3 divisions, yep.
Why do you make that why do you make that analogy now to President Trump in this trial? Because we've been a little bit playing, we've been clenched up in the corner, right, playing rope-a-dope. Why are you saying, as an ardent, when I went up to Macomb County and gave the talk a couple of years ago on the first anniversary of the historic win of President Trump, I think it was in 2017, I went to Macomb County, which is the heart of the Reagan Democrats. Ray was actually there, met Ray right beforehand, before going on stage at a reception. Ray, as a ardent deplorable, why are you saying that now President Trump's got to become like Pat and go on offense?
Because now we have control of the Senate. Okay, we've been listening to Schiff, the Democrats, ever since the election, ever since his inaugural speech, they've been in control. Now we have control. We have the con. Let's use it. Hey, Bloomberg's going to drop $2 billion in this election cycle. Okay, this is like free political advertisement, this trial. We should take every minute that's allotted to us and pound home the fact that Trump did nothing wrong, that this impeachment is partisan, and we have to end it, and use all the time we've got. And like I said, play that Biden video at the
Okay, besides that, do you think that people ought to say we ought to have witnesses, they ought to have Bolton, they ought to have Mulvaney, they ought to have Pompeo, and that President can bring the whistleblower and others? Do you, as a Trump supporter, where do you stand on witnesses?
I say bring it all, and let's start with Eric Caramella, right out of the gate.
Who's that?
And who's Eric Caramella? Who's Eric Caramella?
The whistleblower.
Ray, thank you very Ray, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it. Ray from Michigan. Yes, sir. Oh, we lost Ray there. That was a thank you. That's okay. We got a full board, so we're going to get to in a second. I'm going to get to the other callers. Our number is 888-480-5646. It's Vox Populi on Salem, John Fredericks, America's Voice.News, and Newsmax TV. Jump in here, sir.
Yeah, so right now we have crying Chuck Schumer behind the podium, flanked by, I believe it's Senator Cardin, as well as, I'm not sure the other senator is just off the screen there, but he's the headline on CNN. Schumer responds to Bolton revelation ahead of Trump defense, and what Schumer just said. No surprise, this is stunning. It goes right to the heart of the charges against the president, and Bolton essentially confirms the president committed the offenses charged in the first article of impeachment. So that in advance of the 1 o'clock kickoff today, which President Trump tweeted out shortly a bit ago, saying that everything will get started here at 1 o'clock. That is how Chuck and the Democrats are trying to frame things.
Okay, I want to, for people that didn't get to our 9 o'clock show this morning, and it's one of the reasons when we first started doing this, reach out to Raheem and Jason, who are two guys who run real war rooms, these information centers. But Raheem for UKIP and for the Brexit situation, and Jason Miller for President Trump in the 2016 come from behind, and Jason's done it his entire professional life. I want to reset here for a second. You've been mocking him as Book Deal Bolton for a long time. Tell the audience exactly where do we stand, and there's no coincidences in this. What happened over the weekend, and we're going to get to the callers in a second, 888-480-5646. Why is this important, and why Schumer is just another momentum that you can tell was coming?
After Saturday, when President Trump's defense team went out there and essentially destroyed everything the Democrats had attacked him with in just a 2-hour stretch, it became very clear that this thing's wrapping up, that this thing's about done. You started seeing some little bit more confident comments from some of the folks who were maybe a little bit squishy before. There are going to be no witnesses. They were going to have this thing dismissed Friday or Saturday of this week. And then Book Deal Bolton got himself back into the news and got himself back in a big way. And in a careful read of the New York Times story, and this is the couple things that are really important.
It was
here.
leaked specifically to the New York Times.
Yes, it was leaked specifically to the New York Times to go and try to throw a grenade into this impeachment.
For those watching
which
at home, I'm pulling up today's newspaper. Money to Ukraine tied to inquiries, Bolton book says.
And the one thing that you'll note in the New York Times stories, there's obviously somebody called up, and there are multiple people that called up and shared that story, corroborated with, I'm guessing it's someone from the NSC who directly leaked it, and then I'm guessing the book agents probably did the confirmation. That's just my own speculation as we're trying to guess where all this came from. You'll note in the story there's a lack of evidence. So they're running with a big, massive headline that Trump bad, Orange Man bad, kind of their normal shtick.
Orange Man lied.
But there's no direct quote. There's no recording. It says that President Trump was talking about Democrats, including Biden. It's really carefully worded, and I would just say this is why we've been hammering on Book Deal Bolton for so long, because when Bolton did the whole the Hamlet routine about, well, maybe I should testify, maybe I'm available, I can do it. This has all been about ginning up book sales. He got a multi-million-dollar advance. He has the same book agents as Anonymous, as Jim Comey. I mean, this is part of a strategic, coordinated takedown campaign. In the case of John Bolton, he wants to sell books. He wants to be relevant once again.
Also, the other element, not just President Trump's defense, but the polling came out this morning in the Washington Post and others saying that President Trump's essentially winning here. The solidification of the American people saying, you got to focus on the opportunity cost. You got to focus on the business of the country. And this is why we started pandemic. Pandemic is the biggest story in the world. Why are we continually having just this taking away the opportunity cost? This is the kind of thing President Trump should be focused on. This is the thing the nation should be focused on. This is the thing that the government should be focused on. And yet we're up here day in and day out on this just ridiculous, and it is a witch hunt. I mean, that's why I think I've said from day one, we got to go to a longer trial. In the longer trial, you got to vet it now, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. They're going to weaponize everything that St. Lev Parnas has. They're going to weaponize everything Bolton has. They're going to weaponize everything Anonymous has. They're going to continue until the November election.
The poll numbers, and again, it was the ABC Washington Post poll that came out, essentially shows that President Trump is tied or within the margin of error with all the major Democratic candidates. The telling line, 49% of Americans, though, think the president's going to win re-election. Only 43% think that the Democrat will. So in the actual polling of who you're going to vote for, but even the people who are voting Democrat or voting against President Trump think he's going to win. And why I thought that was so huge. Number one, his numbers are up since October. So since they started this whole impeachment witch hunt, it's actually helped the president. What it's done is awakened his voters. They call them Trump voters for a reason. That's because they don't want to go and vote for other stick men, Republicans. They're just, who's this boring guy in a suit? They want actual Donald Trump. That's why they're Trump voters. But it also shows that these accomplishments that the president's been having, the USMCA deal, phase one of the China deal, even today he has Netanyahu in town pushing forward on, and again, it's pushing toward the peace process. Obviously, you're not going to get the Palestinians to stop being crazy anytime soon, but it's pushing the peace process along. A lot of these real tough, intricate public policy dynamics that the president's been successful with despite all of this chaos. And it shows people are paying attention, which a lot of times I think Democrats in the media think that voters are stupid. And they think they don't pay attention to these things, but they're paying attention to these successes.
Let's go to Atlanta and Andrea. Andrea, in Atlanta, you're on Vox Populi. Got Jason Miller, Stephen K. Bannon. How can we help you, ma'am? And Andrea in Atlanta? What line was that, Vish? Line 2? Andrea, line 2 on Andrea?
Right here.
Oh, how you doing, sir? I take it you're not, are you Andrea?
No, I'm Andrew from Atlanta.
Oh, Andrew. Thank you. So
Sorry, Andrew.
Andrew will take you too. So how you doing, sir?
Great, man. I'm looking at this from the perspective of a Marine. I was in the Marine Corps 69 to 76. Thank you very much for your service, Mr. Bannon.
Well, thank you for the Vietnam era.
There's two. Yeah, I was a Vietnam vet, as a matter of fact. There's two things I want to talk about just briefly. One is the witnesses, and two is how the POTUS team should proceed. And the reason I mention the Marine Corps is because we are basically in a war. I mean, you're the war room, okay, right? So the art of war applies. You know, the Sun Shi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, art of war. In chapter 2, number 19, it says, in war, then let your great objective be victory, not lengthy campaigns. So in my opinion, I totally agree that it's not going to stop. And since it's not going to stop, we need to shut it down every time it comes through the House of Representatives, unless the Senate can figure out a way to, I don't know what you'd call a validation of impeachment articles coming out of the House in the future. I don't know if you can legally do that. But my point is, shut it down quick, have no witnesses. Now, if they do proceed, and I think the legal team can do that. I think they can do that in the 24 hours, and I agree I'd do it in all 24 hours. But then if for some crazy reason some of the Republicans jump and they say, yeah, we want witnesses, I think in that case, I think the legal team has to go long. I mean, send out their wide, look at it like a football game at that point. Send out your wide receivers, crush them. I mean, like beat them 120 to nothing. Okay.
Andrew,
let me just say this.
Go ahead.
All the way back to Carter Page. Okay. Go all the way back to him. Bring in Obama, Clinton, Biden, every single one of the people.
Andrew, Andrew, what is but this is what I don't understand. There's a little disconnect, at least to my mind, about your thing about Sun Tzu and victory, and you want you would rather have a vote and just get off the stage.
Sure, yeah.
But what do you define as victory? Acquittal by the Senate or exoneration by the American people?
Both. I mean, you're getting exoneration. You got 49%, and actually, that's a good point because my wife, I'm a conservative, hardcore conservative. My wife is not a hardcore, but she's a liberal. She doesn't watch the media. She doesn't get daily national news. She's basically, going to work and coming home and just, doing things around the house and not paying attention. And she's late 50s, okay? You have to figure out how to message to that person to get it over the 49 and way up into the 50s. If you can get a message to Jennifer, my wife, and she could turn, she's willing to listen, but it's got to be logical to her. Okay, she's not watching the TV show like I am. I've watched every minute of the trials. I'm like, Raheem and you guys, I'm a junkie. She watches nothing. So you have to figure out how to message to her for the American people, and you'll get a big population surge. and you'll get a big confidence vote in President Trump. But you have to shut it down quick. I mean, I think that's the key, because if between now and November, let's say we had 5 more impeachments, and every time it came to the Senate, they shut it down and sent it back, okay? You know, they come up with Bolton, then they come up with God knows who, okay? And they impeach him again and again and again. I think actually that would just destroy the Democratic Party.
Andrew, thank you very much. Fantastic, and hopefully your wife can start to listen to a little bit to War Room Impeachment Highlight. We really thank you for your
Give me a message. Tell me what to tell her. I'm having trouble.
Just tell her. It's in the granularity. Just tell her to focus on the details. The details we win. Thank you very much. We lost
sir.
Tony.
Thank
Did we
you.
lose Tony? Okay, let's go to.
Specific to, go ahead and bring the next person. Why don't we say just
Yeah,
a
Andy.
kind of an
Let's get
elevator
Andy
pitch.
from Richmond.
Yeah, I think one of the elevator pitches to go and share here is going back to what they actually said, which all of the hyperbole and the crazy things they're accusing President Trump of, they didn't even bring those up in these articles of impeachment. The extortion, the bribery, all these things. Fact of the matter is, President Trump did nothing wrong. He's backed up by Ukraine's president, who said that he did nothing wrong. There's been no fact witness that said that President Trump has done something wrong in this entire process, and the call was great. So look how the economy is surging. Look how everything's going in the right direction in the country. That's the elevator pitch for someone who sees this nonsense and is wondering why we're spending so much time on it.
Fantastic call. The calls have been great so far. Let's go to Richmond, Virginia, and Andy. Andy in Richmond, you're now on Vox Populi. How can we help you, sir? On line 4.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking the call.
Yes, sir.
Virginia's 7th Congressional District, Spanberger's got to go. Regarding I'm going to throw some fastballs at you guys.
Sure.
You can take or throw away, whatever you want. But let me get through them, not too many. First of all, the Dirty 30. My opinion, doesn't matter how they voted on impeachment articles. As soon as they voted to pass H.R. 660, they showed their true colors. That was the end of them. We all knew where they were going to go after that. The H.R. 660 was so inequitable, that was a joke. Regarding John Bolton, 2 questions. Number 1, aren't his conversations with the president classified? And number 2, if he did discuss these conversations, wouldn't his top secret classification be taken away? Why would he put that in jeopardy? Regarding Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, these guys kill me. Just once, I'd like to see them step behind the protection of a microphone and take hardball questions from the press, or even better yet, in a town hall.
Okay, so hang on, hang on for a second, Andy. Give me your hardest ball.
I'm on a roll, baby.
I know you are. But give me your biggest fastball you would throw Nancy Pelosi. She's a master political strategist. So Andy in Richmond, you got a shot. Give it the toughest question you're going to ask her.
The toughest question I would ask Nancy Pelosi would be, why don't you answer the concerns of the Americans who may not agree with your positions publicly? Have a town hall. Put her on the spot. There's a lot of questions we can ask her that she would be forced, to come out and maybe be truthful.
Andy,
But I doubt she would.
Andy, thank you very much. Fantastic call. I want to turn now to Tony Schaefer, who's currently Tony was here to help us with pandemic, but I want you to jump in here and Jason. Security classification. I mean, they obviously everything he talks about with the president at that level is fairly highly classified, right?
Well, we're talking about here weaponization programs of a foreign nation, and that would automatically make it secret because you don't talk.
So everything about the Ukraine, everything
Everything.
about the thing was now. In they had to have a vetting process here, right?
Right.
This is why he sent the book back to the National Security Council. You got to vet this, but we know because of the buried lead that it's on March 17th. They put up last night the Amazon page for the book. The book is coming out March 17th. It is. That means the book is being already being binded.
It's done.
It's done. This manuscript has been written. How did it go through any kind of vetting process?
Well, exactly. I mean, there isn't one, and I think there's a kind of a buried lead here as well that John Bolton is undermining the foreign policy of the United States as we speak. And the fact that he's now calling the president of Ukraine a liar, he's calling their foreign minister a liar, and this has massive ramifications.
Well, let me be clear on the security issue. Anytime you have a security clearance, I've been through this several times. You all may remember my book was heavily, redacted.
Redacted.
And they actually reclassify things after the fact. That's how desperate they were. So I'm just telling you, there's a way the government does this. There is a classification review process that the intelligence community runs, and you have to submit a manuscript. If you have any security clearance, especially one where you have compartmented information like John did, you have to go through a very rigorous process. Now, I'm hearing so far they only supposedly gave the transcript to the NSC. That's not clearing it. There's a formal process, and if you do not follow that process, your clearance will be revoked, and you can be prosecuted. They went after the guy who did No Easy Day, and actually sued him over the fact he did not follow proper declassification protocol.
He's running for Congress right now.
And they took all the proceeds from that book.
Sean Parnell, I think.
Yeah, they took all the proceeds from that book.
So could Bolton lose his security clearance here?
Absolutely.
Oh, no doubt about it.
No doubt.
And I think that he should. I mean, let's talk about where he actually would have done the work on this book.
Yeah.
So obviously, if he's doing it at his desk in the White House, that's a massive violation. But then also, if he did have
Comey
notes,
did that too and got away with it. Remember,
Right.
that's the same principle.
if he's taking some notes from the president or from these intricate conversations on things and leaving the White House with it, that's problematic.
Right.
I don't see how Bolton survives this without getting his security.
Well,
clearance
in one way or
revoked.
another, I don't think he would have, knowing how these things work, I don't think he was the only one writing the book. I think he probably had a co-author or an editor who actually sat down and said, okay, John, how do we organize this? And to Steve's point, this thing is in a warehouse somewhere. This has been ongoing since the moment he
100%
left
in
the
a
White
warehouse.
House.
Do we care, though? Would you call for executive privilege here, or do you let Bolton say what he wants to say? Why do we fear Bolton? Let's put him on the cross.
Shouldn't fear Bolton. And now that we see that this is, look, there probably will be a more leak or something else that comes from this, but this was their hardest punch. And if this is what they have,
Why do you say it's the hardest punch? Because this is Bolton inside the room.
because this is their last chance to go and make the push.
That's the title of his book.
Exactly. This is his chance to go
Am I
and push
being
for what
cynical
they say.
here?
There you go.
Am I being cynical here?
Book deal Bolton. Doesn't
deal
get more
Bolton.
cynical than that.
Episode 136. It's Vox Populi. Our number is 888-480-5646. 888-480-5646. I promise we're going to get to more callers in the second half hour. We got an hour and a half to go. We got plenty of pandemic callers, lots of callers on about the impeachment. We'll get to all of you. Just please hold. We're going to take a short commercial break. Return Colonel Tony Schaefer, Jason Miller, Stephen K. Bannon, Jack Maxey in a moment.
Bannon, Miller, Kassam. War Room, Impeachment.
On the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Episode 136. We're live from Capitol Hill. It's Vox Populi here in War Room Impeachment. Taking your calls throughout the nation. Our number is 888-480-5646. Jason Miller, Colonel Tony Schaefer, Jack Maxey, Stephen K. Bannon. Let's go to Maryland and Sue on line 2. Sue on line 2. You're on Vox Populi. How can we help you this morning, ma'am?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I called a few weeks ago about Disney World being MAGA country,
Yes, ma'am.
and I want to just make a couple of quick comments. Number one, my father's sister died of the Spanish flu in 1918, and he grew up in one of the poorest areas of West Virginia, Appalachia, and his 2-year-old sister died of it. And he talked about that a lot and was also very afraid of the polio. When the polio vaccine came out, he wanted us all to get it. But he talked about how back then, this is why every time we had a cold, he'd reach for the Vicks Vapor Rub, because that's all they had back then. Hot water bottles, cinnamon oil, vinegar. And I just hope with what's going on here with this flu epidemic, or maybe pandemic, that we don't get politically correct about it. If you remember, when Obama first took office, he asked for $1.5 billion to fight the, quote, swine flu from Mexico, and didn't want it to be called the Mexican flu. And I just want people to not be politically correct. I want us to address this. People I'm talking to, and I do these informal polls all the time, are more worried about getting on the metro, being at sporting events with a lot of people than they are about this impeachment, because they're already know that the Democrats are ridiculous and they're already going to vote for Trump. But they're very concerned that this country is not going to look at this really seriously, and that we're going to continue to have these flights coming in from these countries, and the general population is not going to be prepared for it. If you go on Amazon, just a 30-pack of these masks are going for hundreds of dollars now.
So hang on for a second. Because this story is now just getting into the mainstream media, the reason that it's because of our relationships and understanding of China and what we know about, I broadcast 2 or 3 times a week into China with some Chinese broadcasters to get the truth to the Chinese people. We actually blow through the VPN to get the word there. So my contacts, relationships, I'm considered a super hawk when it comes to the Chinese Communist Party, although this is different than that. The reason we wanted to start War Room Pandemic is we did not think that the actual facts of the situation were getting out there, and the mainstream media was kind of repeating what the Chinese government said just as at face value, and this was much deeper. So, but when you talk to people, when you say that they're afraid to get on metros now, or they're taking this much more seriously, on what information are they even basing it on, since the media has really come to this story slowly? We're in the end of January, and we now know from Lancet magazine, the great medical journal in England, that this started December 1st, or the first week of December. How are people that you know in your sphere actually coming to this information to have a level of awareness now that they're not so crazy about getting on the metro?
Well, it's twofold. They don't trust the mainstream media, and this is why I thank God for programs like yours. But also, they look at what's happening with this impeachment trial, and they know that Democrats are liars. They know that the people in charge of the House are liars. And so they look at Donald Trump and his administration. They look at, like, this is the one guy that's telling us the truth. And here we are being ruled, money-wise, of power of the purse, everything, by a bunch of liars. So they're not trusting anything. The belief in Donald Trump now is becoming more and more, and I'm hearing from people that have money in the stock market that are saying, boy, if we have to be dictated by this group of liars, maybe we should pull our money out now. We don't trust what's coming out of Washington. Please, they want to hear the president address the country on this issue, the folks that I'm talking to, because there are still a lot of us that have family members that lost people in the great epidemic of 1918. And we know that this politically correct frozen news system that is not interested in the truth, and just look at this stupid impeachment trial, you could see that nobody's trusting it. My son is an attorney. He works in Washington, and his firm does government corruption. And he was saying, I've got to ride that metro every day. And the only people that we can really trust is our president. Is he going to come out and is he going to address the nation on this? Remember, Barack Obama did it, and he took $1.5 billion, and it turned out to be nothing. And yet we've got something here. We don't trust China. We don't trust what news is coming out of China. And I'm literally talking to people because I like to do these informal polls. And everyone I'm talking to is saying, I'm going to get over and get my mask and get my rubber gloves, and I'm going to stay home. I'm not going to the movies. I'm going to buy a bunch of frozen foods and stay home because they don't trust China. They don't trust these Democrats. They feel like they lie all the time. And so they really want to hear the president come out and address this issue to the country.
Sue, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Fantastic call. Okay, I want to turn to, because this connects the dot. This is exactly why, and the other day we felt we needed to start pandemic. This goes to 2 things. It's number one, the opportunity cost, but it's also the system. It's why, and you hear from, this is why it's Vox Populi, this is why it's Voice of the People. From Sue in Maryland, you hear that, hey, we have seen one continual set of lies against this guy from day one that starts to erode like acid onto people's trust. So then when something important happens, and this is why we started a pandemic the other day, that the opportunity cost. Now we're going to head to, if you listen to Dr. Hatfield and others, this is a very serious, and Sue's thing about President Obama, it turned out not to be as big, but President Obama didn't know at the time. That's why he asked for the $1.5 billion. That's why they made it a big deal, because they wanted to get ahead of it. You see now the opportunity cost of wasting the nation's time on doing this, Jason Miller. This eats away. They talk about President Trump to destroy the institutions of the government. They talk about, Bannon and all these other guys. It is the established order that has relentlessly, from the day this guy was democratically elected, gone after it. They're the ones that have turned the institutions of government. They're the ones, in Book Deal Bolton, the great publishing houses, the New York Times, the mainstream media as it orchestrates it, right? As it comes, this was not random last night. These are the institutions of the United States, the great publishing houses. They could give John Bolton a $3 million thing. The New York Times, the paper of record in our country, right? Now they're saying that there's a whole kind of thing about was there even a copy of this at the National Security Council to be reviewed? It's they that have destroyed and cut the legs out from the great institution of this country. So now that we're going to be facing with a crisis, a real crisis, not a faux constitutional crisis, forced on us by Nancy Pelosi, forced on us by Adam Schiff, forced on us by Chuck Schumer, forced on us by the mainstream media. Now you're getting to a real crisis. And why did I start the show War Room Pandemic? For the simple reason, for years I've been saying the same thing. Everything out of China from the CCP is not to be believed. When I went and supported President Trump in doing his deal, I said, he has put him on notice to say, hey, look, you've committed to this stuff, right? He could be judge, jury, and executioner to re-trigger the tariffs, right? And by the way, remember the tariffs, everybody mocked him on the tariffs. They worked. They brought the Chinese Communist Party to the table. He, in the deals, the judge, jury, and executioner, to respring them. They've got to live up to their commitments. They lied about Hong Kong. They lied about the deal they signed with Obama and Joe Biden in 2014, I think, in the Rose Garden about cybersecurity and the militarization of the South China Sea. They lied to everybody's face about the Paris Accord. They've got $500 billion of coal plants they're building, okay? Donald Trump's the one that called them out. They lied on that. This is why you know this pandemic is going to be bigger, because they're lying. But Sue ties it together. People are tired of the lies. They're tired of the institutions coming back and saying Trump's not the institutionalist. Trump's the problem. Trump's the radical. Trump. Read the Afghanistan report. Go to the Washington Post and the reporting they did. Read the Afghanistan report. You want to see the institutions of this country that will lie to your face and misrepresent to your face. That's the crisis we have.
Yeah, and it shows where the media is focused on this, and that's simply on clickbait and taking down Donald Trump. I mean, that is the focus here. They are so triggered and so obsessed with trying to take down President Trump that they're turning a blind eye. I mean, the coronavirus gets virtually no attention on the major broadcast
Nothing.
networks.
You're going to CNN. You're going to CNN and MSNBC, and it's nothing. Okay, in the day when it's exploding now, and they do nothing. They have a little bit of side, a 30-second spot here. Something. MSNBC and CNN, Jeff Zucker, you're supposed to be the great international news organization. When you're overseas, all you see is CNN. Nothing, right? I think they got one reporter today I saw on their line that's wandering around Wuhan, right? This is the level that they're dealing with. Nothing. All day long, Anderson Cooper 360, Cuomo. The news is not the phony impeachment. The news is what's happening on an explosive nature. Dr. Stephen Hatfield from the U.S., formerly from the biodefense researcher at the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute, one of the top guys in the country, in the new book, 3 Seconds a Million, he says, don't look at SARS, don't look at Obama swine flu, don't look at MERS, don't look at any of this stuff, don't even look at Ebola. Go back to 1918. 1918 is the thing, and a woman calls up, hey, my husband's kid's sister died, and it still affected him all his life, died at 2 years old in West Virginia, not in Spain, not in the Western Front of World War I, right. In Appalachia in the 1918, 1919, right?
Well, this is where policy and threat come together, and I appreciate you having me on this morning, Steve, for this very point. This I can characterize, and it's not Russia. I'm using as a metaphor, Soviet-level wrongdoing. Remember, if you look at what happened with the issues within the Soviet Union, the way the state, the party was always supreme, and truth was subordinated to that. The truth could only be what the state approved. That's what we're seeing here. And this is a parallel between China and what their government does and what the left does here. It's all about the managing perception and opinion rather than informing and educating. That's what we're faced with, and I appreciate the fact you're trying to educate what the reality is. And this goes to the point of the threat. No one will be affected by Kobe Bryant's death directly, but I'm watching wall-to-wall coverage of that. This whether people know it or not, this has already affected them. It's going to affect them. It's just like a wave on the horizon. We just don't know how big that wave is going to be, but it's going to hit. Because every aspect, as Dr. Hatfield said on his interview, we now depend on societies which depend on highly complex, overlapping machines.
Spontaneous order. Spontaneous order that comes regardless of bills, a distribution system unparalleled.
Right.
But that, trust me, it runs in a certain mechanism.
And it's all just in time, and it's all dependent on every aspect, every component functioning synchronous and great synchronicity.
Brilliant.
And this is already broken down in China. We know this is damaged, and that the damage in China, it's going to affect our economy. We just don't know how yet.
I'm going to go to, in a second, to calls. I want to say about the Kobe Bryant. His dedication to work and to personal will and to getting things done. I'd rather have the dedications to Kobe Bryant and talk about the spirit of which he went and focused on the work at hand. He was relentless about being excellent at everything he did. Then hear more madness on Pericles of Athens, Adam Schiff, and Chuck Schumer. This nonsense has to, and this is why we need a long trial. I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen, we got to take this in because it's not going to end. The New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, they are relentless, okay? They want to drive Donald Trump from office. And the only way to do this is got to be guns out now, right? Just get it on. Let's start it. Give me Bolton. Give me, take Mulvaney. Take all the OMB. Get all the emails. Pompeo. Give them everything, okay? No executive privilege. And let's get our guys. Let's get Whistleblower. Let's get Bannon. Let's get Schiff as a fact witness of what he was doing with the whistleblower.
Whistleblower number 2.
Whistleblower number 2
disappeared.
Disappeared, right? Where'd
they go?
Where'd he go?
Whistleblower number 2.
Let's go to Florida, line 2, and Yolanda. Yolanda on line 2. You're on Vox Populi. How can we help you, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm a deplorable from Florida. I'm Hispanic, and I'm a woman. So I'm everything that they say that nobody is for this president. And I would want a full trial. A full trial, bring all the guns out, go straight to war against even the witnesses, okay, the so-called ambassador, all that they did, their relationship with Ukraine. I would bring it all out. I would destroy the Democrats in their own game. This is game. It has to be over. This is an all-out war, and we need to win. We're not even going to. We can't give them anything. We need to go and win.
Yolanda, I wish I could roll you into the Oval Office right now have a chat with the president. Let me ask you: you're everything the media tells us doesn't exist. You're a female Hispanic and clearly a deplorable.
I am everything that the media says that doesn't exist. I was born in Cuba. I'm a legal alien that is a citizen that loves this country, and I know all their lies. The communists, the socialists, these radicals, all they want is to shut us up. They want to shut our speech and then take our guns. That's what they did in Cuba, and that's what my parents brought me to this country, which is a great country that I love, which I am not going to put up, okay? And I will defend it. And this president is the only one that can beat them because they are afraid of him. That's why they want to destroy him, because they cannot beat him. So we need to go on the offensive. We need to go all out on war and destroy them all. Get the American people to know the truth, and this is the venue because everybody's looking.
One second before we let you go. If you had a chance to sit with the president today before the 1 o'clock defense starts, what advice would you give President Trump?
I would tell him what I just told you, to go and get everything out there. He has the weapon because he knows more than what the people know. He can declassify things. He can go out there. He can go after Schiff, after Nancy, after the ambassador, after all those traitors, because they are traitors for this country, okay, that are linked to the Clintons, that are linked to all of that stuff. And I will bring all that dirt out, everything. I would clean the swamp in one trial. That's the way to do it. You want to clean the swamp? The swamp, you do it now. This is your way to clean the swamp. Just bring all their crookedness out.
Yolanda in Florida, thank you very much.
Another
one
point on
for,
that.
one for the records right there.
That was awesome. I don't think she will be buying Book Deal Bolton's book. I'm going to guess that she has not clicked
But
on
this
Amazon.
is how sophisticated. They say the plurals are no anything. She talks about it right. Let's declassify it all. Let's declassify it all. Let's get it all out there.
And this is what I was saying earlier, that the media wants to treat Trump supporters as these idiotic rubes, people who don't know anything. Trump supporters are so educated and so detailed in what they dive into, really understand. And that's where we've seen the great feedback here on war room impeachment. People wanted to get to the bottom of this.
Yes.
I want to go to one point on the full trial, because I completely agree, and we've been saying this for a long time. Alexander Vindman, Bill Taylor, George Kent, Gordon Sondland. These were all supposed to be devastating defeats for President Trump back in the House Judiciary Committee. Think back to Robert Mueller. Remember, I'm old enough to remember when Robert Mueller's testimony was going to absolutely break President Trump into 1,000 pieces.
Right after Michael Cohen's was going to.
Yeah.
Right. What about Jim Comey? I thought Jim Comey was going to absolutely destroy it. All of these supposed bombshells, all of these big groundbreaking things that were going to take out President Trump have fallen flat on their face. I want Book Deal Bolton on that stand. I want to grill him. I want it to be public. I want people to see that he doesn't have anything, that what he's accused, or these leaking and the way that they're trying to frame things, that there's nothing of the sort, and President Trump did nothing wrong.
Before I stepped in and came in as the CEO of the campaign and got to meet, I knew Jason or his reputation with Cruz and other people for years, but really got to work with him on the campaign. I said that every idea I had came from the radio show, came from the radio show I was doing daily at Breitbart, because it was a caller-driven show. Yolanda is perfect. I said, the American people have an amazing common sense, an amazing kind of stability and common sense. They can think through issues. If you get them the information, they'll think it through. And that's why in this concept of the fourth turning, in the Revolution, in the Civil War, in the Great Depression, World War II, the American people always make the right decision. And when they put their will to it, whether to break off from a big empire with the odds all against them, whether to basically say the war, that we've got to get rid of this blight of chattel slavery, and we've got to destroy this concept of independence. We're one nation, we're a union. Or in World War II, we got to step up to the fascists in Asia, the Japan imperial thing, the Italian fascists, and the Nazis. The American people always put their shoulder to the wheel and they're prepared to do it. That's where there's a fourth turning. And Yolanda and the other callers epitomize the common sense. If you give me the choice between the first 100 callers, the first 100 people at a Trump rally in red ball caps, and the top 100 partners at Goldman Sachs, I'm going to take the plurals every day, because the common sense, grit, determination. When you made the comment earlier, Jack Maxey, about Et2 Bolton, it's quite ironic. What she said is very powerful. Caesar, as you mentioned in the break.
Yeah, well, I mean, Caesar was basically killed for trying to drain the Senate and destroy the interagency consensus of the Roman Senate.
That was the populace versus the elite. It was the elites that had gotten so corrupt, and obviously they had a thing about how he was trying to do it, but it was draining the swamp. This is where Yolanda went. What Yolanda went was not just about the traitors and declassified. She said, you got in one fell swoop, give me a long trial, because I will drain the swamp if you do that, right? This is where you just bring it. They're going to be relentless. They're not going to give up on this. You know this, Miller. They're going to continue on. They're going to weaponize St. Lev Parnas's audio. They're going to weaponize Bolton's book tour. They're going to weaponize every aspect of. They do this in 30-second spots with $2 billion of the American oligarch, Michael Bloomberg, right? And Bloomberg saying, I'm not there even to win the presidency. I'm there to take out Donald Trump's presidency, right?
You know, Steve, you made a really good point this morning. As we go to common sense and people at home being able to get this. When you said John Bolton didn't get a $3 million book advance for nothing, it's exactly for this. They were paying for the complete Javelin, that's the book agent that's handling this, who did Comey and Anonymous. They were paying for the full experience.
Okay. The Morning Joe crowd, our betters, if you want to understand why people don't believe in the institutions of this country, it's not Donald Trump. Yolanda in Florida just told you. because she can connect the dots and understand that the publisher gave the massive advance back when he had the finished manuscript back in August and September when he left, because they understood that at a date certain they were going to weaponize it and they were going to drop it. And it just so happened there are no coincidences, and we're not conspiracy theory guys, because we say it's all out there in plain sight. You don't need to wear a tin hat. It's not the Bilderberg Group. It's the American establishment, the established order that is bound and determined to destroy Donald Trump. And why are they prepared to destroy him? Because he's the instrument of Yolanda in Florida. He's the instrument of the deplorables. Stephen K. Bannon. We're going to return on episode 135 of Vox Populi in a minute.
War Room, Impeachment. With Stephen K. Bannon, Jason Miller, and Raheem Kassam. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Vox Populi, episode 136. We're live from Capitol Hill. Jason Miller, Colonel Tony Schaefer, Jack Maxey. Jason, you've got some thoughts. We're going to go to Australia here in a minute with a caller. But what are your thoughts about what's happening? I know the Twitter is blowing up today about the Bolton situation.
Yeah, and Rachel Bade just wrote that from the Washington Post that Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, is suggesting that he wants the White House to give the Senate the Bolton manuscript so he can decide if Bolton needs to testify. And he says, I want to see the manuscript or have someone tell us what's in the manuscript. Apparently the White House has it. You can ask for it. I want to take it a step further. If this book was put together on the taxpayers' time and on the taxpayers' dime, it shouldn't just be going to the Senate. We should be putting this thing out there publicly. I mean, this is a national security issue. He's undercutting U.S. foreign policy as we speak, and he's getting paid for it. And it doesn't stop there. So that should be put out publicly. And I don't care if it steps on his advance from the company and other fake news and whatever. This is a product of taxpayer money. It should be put out there. I want to take it a step further. Javelin, the company that did Jim Comey's book, the company did the anonymous fake news book, which we're going to get to that at some point here, but don't think it was a senior administration official that went and did this. And this can be a massive egg on the face for a lot of people. But when you talk about Keith Urban, the founder and president of the firm, when you talk about Matt Latimer, one of the co-founders, they're fact witnesses now. I want to see when these, Tony, you made this point during the break, so I'm going to steal your thought for a moment.
Oh, please.
But, sorry, it's just a blatant rip-off. It's your idea. I want to see when these documents were created. I want to see when he started working on this. I want to see the timestamps for when he was working on this. He was creating this on the taxpayer's dime. The Javelin folks are fact witnesses in this. I want to see the manuscript put out to the public. If you think you're going to go and make $3 million off of scamming the taxpayers during and trying to hijack this impeachment process, you just lost your manuscript, buddy.
And the other point of this is the iterative nature of manuscripts. We all know we're all writers. We all know there's revisions. I'm curious about, were they saying, "Oh, John, knock on wood, hey, can you emphasize this one point? Are you really sure on this one point?" So I want to see
all the email chains.
I want to see the original.
The publishers are fact.
Right.
The publishers are fact witnesses. What did they see when Bolton? Listen, here's the logistics. If the book comes out March 17th, the book is getting ready to go to the warehouse. It's been binded. It's been proofed. The lawyers have gone through it. It's not a manuscript. It's a book.
Right.
Okay. As you know, Tony, you got to go through time and time again for the lawyer checks, all the copy editing, the English. We could never figure out why it was $3 million, because it's a big number in today's publishing world. Because he gave them a draft of a manuscript. He had a manuscript. He didn't have an idea. He didn't have some book proposal. He had a manuscript.
So, into the point, and Tony had made this point earlier. This has yet to go through the full clearing process, the full vetting process.
The full clearing process has to go to all agencies involved. There's a very formal process.
So let's think.
Schaefer's book was 20% redacted because of that.
Right.
So, but let's think
about
this
second redaction. Remember, it was cleared twice.
Who all was working on the book? So when you talk about the book agents that are going through this and the ghostwriters and the people who are chiming in on this, so that means that you're taking conversations or supposed conversations or hyperbole and conjecture and all these different things. You're then sharing it with, I mean, what are we talking? Dozens of people? By the time it goes to the publisher, we talking hundreds of people. And these, you're saying that you're having these private conversations with the President of the United States, not yet cleared by the NSC, But now it's out to everybody.
Let me emphasize your point on this. So if there was a manuscript produced before, during, or as he left office, that is technically a government document. That was done on government time. Secondly, relating to that, if you take that information like Comey did and shares it with third parties who are not authorized to have classified information, Bolton cannot make the determination in his own document what is classified or not classified. That requires a third party. John, once he leaves, does not have original classifying or declassifying authority. He may have had that in his former job, but he doesn't now. And that's where a third party has to come in and evaluate the data. Then the other piece of this is, Steve, you might know this from your background working at the White House. Agencies who you mentioned or have any equities, quote unquote equities, in your manuscript get to look at it too. So CIA, NSA, DIA, the Pentagon all get to look at it, and that takes time. That takes months.
So that hasn't happened.
So plus, not just time, folks.
Yes.
Where the folks are looking at this.
But that's the point. He didn't. Those folks have to look at it before they say it's classified or unclassified. And he did it backwards. He gave it to other folks, saying, "Look what I got."
Because it was going to be weaponized. Let's go down under to Australia in April. April in Australia. You're on line 2. You're on Vox Populi. How can we help you?
Hey, how you doing?
Fine.
I wanted to talk about the g'day. I wanted to talk about the trade deal between the US and China.
Okay.
And specifically in the financial services. And I guess I was looking for you to get some answers. So in the banking services, it says that that the US will get entry into China's market.
Mm-hmm.
But they also talk about the parent funding. If China gives permission for the license to be granted based on the parent company's overseas assets,
mm-hmm.
and whether that fulfills the requirements. Now, what concerns me is that then in the next section in financial assets, in the distressed debt services, it talks about that the US will also get access into the distressed debt services market.
Mm-hmm.
Now, based on the stuff that I heard you and Kyle talk about in the past, where is the sense making behind the rationale of that, of getting access into those markets when you consciously purchase debt for a profit? Well, hopefully for a profit.
Well,
does that make sense?
Yeah, total sense. First off, April, being in Australia, how did you hear about the show? We'd love to find out how you got access to it. We'd love the international calls.
Well, I've been watching Kyle for a fair bit, and then I watched a few of your interviews or sit-downs with Kyle, and then it popped up on my YouTube feed, The War Room, I don't know, maybe episode 16, and so I just started listening to it from then.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Kyle Bass, he was on the initial episode 1 of War Room Pandemic. Look, here's the concern we've got. By the way, April, thank you so much for the call, April in Australia. Here's the concern we've got with the trade deal, and we've had from the beginning, is that the access that they got was through and Jack, you know this, was the financial services industry. Essentially what I say is it's the pension funds and savings of the deplorables now get the wonderful opportunity to support the credit card industry in China. And as we know, and her question about the distressed debt is that, and there's lots of distressed debt in China. Okay, first of all, every number coming out of China is made up, but the regional banks alone have hundreds of billions of dollars of underwater debt. And what Wall Street wanted, and Wall Street pushed this aspect of it, was the opportunity to get access to those financial markets and basically to get into the credit card business and with the deplorables pension fund money, and to get into the distressed debt business where they can go in and start buying distressed debt.
Well, I mean, you think of what she's saying. Last time the deplorables basically were forced to finance the disaster of the last foray into distressed debt in the United States and the mortgage markets, et cetera. So who's going to bail out the
That was part you were saying before the 2008 financial collapse.
So who's going to bail it out when the debt markets in China collapse, and Goldman Sachs is on the hook for that too?
Mm-hmm. Let's go to, do we still have Mark in Illinois? Mark in Illinois. Let's go to Mark in Illinois. You're on Vox Populi. Our number is 888-480-5646. I want to thank April in Australia. Great question about the quote-unquote trade deal, although I think with this pandemic, the CCP's got some explaining to do as we're going to it. Mark in Illinois, you're now on Vox Populi. How you doing, sir?
Not Mark, it's Bart. But anyway, God bless you, my fellow patriots. I was just going to hang up. I thought I wasn't going to get on. To the point, because the president's lawyers are not really fast on their feet, except with the exception of maybe Sekulow, and they're not going to do a PowerPoint or a dog and pony show. I suggest to you that to bring it down to the level of your guest Reynard the other day, they do a tag team Q&A. Ask simple questions, answer them simply to bring it down to people's level.
Bart, hang over a second. Are you saying right now you don't think people, like you saw the opening presentation of the president's lawyers the other day, you think people, that's too detailed, it's not narrative enough that people will follow at home?
Yeah, I think so. I think they should be a little more of a Q&A, bring it down to a simple level. For instance, who's in charge of foreign policy in the United States, and hammered at home? It's the President of the United States. It's not Vindman or Fiona Hill or Phil Kimby.
Bart in Illinois, thank you very much. Appreciate the call. We still have Richard in. Let's go to Richard. Let's go to D.C. and Richard. Richard in D.C., you're on Vox Populi. Our number is 888-480-5646. Richard, do we have you?
Hi, Steve.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good. I want to talk to you about sometimes you vacillate on between pulling things out brick by brick and then exoneration. You know what I mean?
Hold it. Hang on now. Hang over a second. I got everybody here laughing at me.
What do you Bronx cheer? A little Bronx cheer here in the war room.
Thanks, Richard. What do you mean vacillate? I've been saying long trial for a while, haven't I? Or have I been vacillating about that?
Well, after Saturday's defense, you were getting there. You know, I just feel that you have to keep it in the scope of things. You know what I mean? I'm probably more radical than Raheem is when it comes to getting these rats out of there. You know? But I think what's going to happen now with this new Bolton thing is that the Senate is really going to start to just get indecent about this, because they're just trying one thing after another, and Schumer is out there. Yeah, we need witnesses. They were supposed to do their job, and they didn't do it. This morning, I woke up really early, and I didn't have anything to do, so I watched Saturday's defense again, and boy, they ripped them apart. And if that's just the start in 3 hours, I don't really think they're going to take the whole time. I think they're going to just keep going, and as far as calling witnesses go, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, as far as Biden goes, they can just put that video of him up there and make him look.
Richard, before we let you go, what do you mean double-edged sword? I take it you're for let's get it done, call the vote, and go home, versus our long trial. Why do you say why do you say witnesses potentially are double-edged swords?
Because you never know what they're going to say. But I'm not for. We went through this a couple of weeks ago. I'm not for cutting it off quick and then go home. I'm for cutting it off quick after we put egg all over Baldy's bug-eyed face, and then that's when you go out with the cannons and full bore and just show what a stupid thing this is, and it's nothing more than an insurrection or subversion of the Constitution. It's basically misuse of power on the Democrats' part.
Richard, thank you very much. Richard in D.C. My producers give me stink eye. We got to get to more callers, but I want to go to you, Jason, for a second. Do you think you can do that in a Richard thing, that you think you can get everything out there without calling the witnesses and going into a fuller and deeper trial? Is there enough egg in their face that, the whole thing, take it apart brick by brick as you go in and do substance on this? Can you do enough if you don't call witnesses?
So you basically have a sample size there of like 4 people. I mean, it's the Susan Collins, Murkowski, Willard. That's, maybe can they go and get one more, whether it be, I don't want to even go and put you down by throwing them in that negative trinity right there. But it's a small sample size as far as how much that needle is really going to move. But I do want to say that Richard brought up an interesting point about you don't know what witnesses are going to say. So this was the thing why we knew that the witnesses in the House Judiciary Committee were going to be so good, because they'd all testified behind closed door. We had transcripts. We knew where they were going to be. This is a real danger for Democrats, because if they think that John Bolton is going to magically have some information that's going to lead to the impeachment of Donald J. Trump, that this is going to be oh man, the 17 witnesses, the 7,000 pages, 3 months of work, 3 days of opening testimony, but now maybe we get to see a couple of notes from John Bolton, man, it's game over. No, that's not going to happen. And so Democrats need to be real careful in this push for witnesses, because they're the ones who don't know what they're going to get. Remember, Gordon, again, I said this a little earlier, Gordon Sondland was going to be the end of President Trump. Okay, actually, he backed up our case perfectly. So I think Democrats, that is why Shifty Schiff, you got to give him credit on this. He's already moving past the manuscript and going to notes.
What was the buried lead he said this morning?
Oh, he said, the real story is not the manuscript. The real story is his notes. He's already moving past it because he knows. And if you don't think that someone on Shifty Schiff's committee has talked to the Javelin guys and talked to someone in Book Deal Bolton's orbit, 100 million,
It's like they talked to Rachel Maddow and her producers about getting St. and Love partners. This is why, if we're going to do it, fine. You get Bolton, you get Pompeo, you get Mulvaney, you get Vogt, you get Blair. You take all the OMB guys, you take all the emails, take the DOD, get it all. We want you to have it all. Well, here's what we get. Okay, let's start getting in the publisher and their notes. Let's start getting in the guys about Rachel Maddow and her producers and Phil Griffin at MSNBC. Let's get it all in. Let's just have it all.
I wonder if these publishers, these guys are on Slack. I wonder what they're working on, because you'd imagine bringing forward and putting that up there on display.
Right.
Here's how I changed the words. Here's how I want to do it. I mean,
exactly.
If you ever see what a Slack looks like of folks are saying the media when they're putting things together, it's devastating.
Yeah.
Because it goes through like, oh, actually, this isn't true. We can't say this. Hold on, take this section, send it to legal. Let's see what they say.
Right.
It gets ugly real quick.
But the other thing, the door that opens here is to 2016 and the Obama administration and some of the things that they actually did to include the whistleblower, Eric Cucamonga. I know his attorney hates when I say that, so I'm just saying.
Oh, the Disney princess?
Eric
Mark
Cucamonga.
but the
Mark
lawyer,
doesn't like it.
Mark Zaid.
Yes.
Mark Zaid, the guy from Disneyland, right?
Yes.
Big fan of Selena Gomez.
Anyway, so Eric Cucamonga and Joe Biden, and by the way, Eric, this whistleblower, I'm using air quotations here,
the so-called,
was the guy who actually arranged the meeting at the White House where they discussed the fact that the former prosecutor was looking at Burisma, and oh, by the way, gee, we don't know if we can investigate. Ukraine wants to investigate. We don't know if we can because of Biden and Biden. So that's all legal as well. And
this is Tony Schaefer sitting in Colonel Tony Schaefer. Let's go to Adrian on line 4. Adrian from Richmond on line 4. How can we help you this morning?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. I'm in the sticks right now, so I want to make sure we're good. First, 3 things. I'm gonna be quick about it. First of all, we miss you, Raheem. I like his input. He's a savage. Second of all, it was. Hey, I love Raheem. I didn't like him at first. I didn't know about him, but I've done some homework on him. He's savage. He's my kind of dude. I can hang out with that guy. Second of all, I gotta let you guys know I was honored, and it was a privilege to hear that young lady from Florida, to hear another Latino
Yolanda.
speak out.
Yeah,
Yolanda, you my girl. If you're still listening, it was a pleasure to hear that I'm not the only Latino out there that's supporting this great president we have and supporting America, because it felt like I'm the only one sometimes. But with all that being said, I got a quick question for you guys, and it's a simple question. And maybe you guys have talked about it. I've listened to most of your podcasts, but when President Trump asked about the Bidens on the phone call, why did we let, or why is it assumed that he was talking about Vice President Biden immediately? Like, he said Biden. It doesn't mean he was talking about Vice President. And so why are we to let that narrative continue to flow and grit and obviously get momentum? Because, for example, I'm a 49ers fan. Go Niners. If I said Shanahan or the Shanahan, I could be talking about either one, his father or Kyle Shanahan, the coach. I mean, I feel like no one's asked that question.
But Adrian, before we let you go, let me ask you, why would that make it a better case if it was about the son versus the father? The father was the VP and did all the stuff when he was vice president.
That's a good question, and people have asked me that. My thing is, because if we're just talking about, it all went down. He was trying to get. Apparently, what the media is saying is that he was trying to get something on Vice President Biden. So, that's not what he said. He said with the Bidens. It could have been anything. But we as his followers, I mean, that was, not to be weird or anything like that, but supporters, I guess say, like, we allow people to just assume we're just assuming he was talking about Vice President. He could be talking about another Biden or both kids or whatever. I'm just saying, but why hasn't nobody asked that question? Like, I feel that's very important, or maybe a little key element. It might be small, but a key element that we don't know who he was talking about. He just said the Bidens. I mean, people are not taking that in consideration. In my
Adrian,
opinion.
before I let you go, real quickly, why is it that the mainstream media never talks about Hispanics that support President Trump? We've had Yolanda, we've had you, we've had other callers in the previous Vox Populis. Why is it seems like it's crickets when it comes to Hispanics?
Sir?
Yes, sir.
That's a great question. That's a deep question, and I could really get into it and love to talk about that. I think it involves the black community as well. That's the problem. Is they don't talk. I don't think they talk about it because I think they're afraid to realize that. Like I said, I feel like I'm the only one, but I live in a small Latino community. Like, there's not too many in Richmond. It is growing, but I think there's a lot of Latinos that are born in America and that have become citizens the right way, are afraid because just a quick reminder, when Antifa was supposed to go try to take down the Sam Houston statue, all the Latinos came out with their handguns, said, I dare you. You don't mess with Texas, and especially Sam Houston and Stephen F. Austin. If you come down there and mess with us, boy, we're going to bring it. I'll show you what that flag means. Come and take it. I'll show you really quick what it means. And if you saw what how all the
Adrian, we got to jump. We got to go to commercial break. Hold, please. We'll be back in a second.
Bannon, Miller, Kassam. War Room, Impeachment.
On the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Episode 136. We're here at Vox Populi, 888-480-5646. It's Jason Miller, Colonel Tony Schaefer, Jack Maxey from the engine room, Stephen K. Bannon, and maybe others. We got voices coming in from everywhere. We're going to take callers in a second. I want to announce you're doing a major radio show this afternoon, Jason. Jason Miller, I have not seen you this fired up in a while. I mean, the campaign every now and again, because you're kind of a calm, I call you kind of the hedgehog. You don't get you're unflappable. But when you get fired up,
I'm fired up.
You're fired. Why are you fired up?
I'm fired up because here's what I hate. I hate when people try to make a bunch of money off the government dime. That pisses me off. So what we're seeing here with Book Deal Bolton, I don't like people who are backstabbing. When I say traitor, I'm saying it in the figuratively, not in the literal, that he betrayed the country. So, but relationship speaking, that you're essentially when
you focused on this book at the very beginning. You're the first guy when this thing you started calling him Book Deal Bolton from the beginning. You knew this book was going to be weaponized.
Yeah, and knew that there was no there, that this was all part of the hype and spin machine. And look, I say it somewhat out of flattery to the Javelin folks, that they're out there making a bunch of terrible clients a whole bunch of money, so whether it be Jim Comey or Anonymous or now going into Book Deal Bolton. I mean, the fact is they have made this a cottage industry of making people 6- and 7-figure advances for trying to take down the president of the United States. And I just think there's something just kind of unsettling about that. I mean, think about what we're doing for democracy. This is what this is about people trying to take down President
Trump.
Trump.
The institutions.
And I just have a real problem with it.
What you're going to be doing radio today, how can people get more of you? Because you're going to be back here at 5 o'clock. You're going to be somewhere in the interim.
Yes. So at 2:20 p.m., I will be rumbling with Brian Ross, the Brian Ross, on Dan Abrams' show over on Channel 124. That's the POTUS station on Sirius. This is going to be big league. I would say tune in. Look for me to bring the heat on book deal Bolton, the facts that Democrats still have no case. And also, I'm going to deconstruct what I'm sure they're going to say is they're probably assuming that I'm someone who doesn't want witnesses and I'm going to go down some kind of obstructionist thing. Like, no, we're going right at it. Let's have the full trial. We're going to put all of you suckers up there so we can break it down, cross-examine you, and smash it into 1,000 pieces. I want to see all of that. So I hope Brian had his Wheaties today.
Boy, Brian Ross. Okay, we're going to go. We got so many international callers. I want to go back to Adrian. Adrian, just real quickly, do you think the media is purposely not reporting the support President Trump has in the Hispanic community and the African-American community?
Yes, to answer your question, I'll be quick. I know you got to go, like you said. Look, I speak Spanish, yo hablo español, and I speak it, I write it, and I do everything with it. But my point is, just like the American media, CNN and all that BS, leftist stuff, the Telemundos and the Universidades, they're the same way. We don't have a voice in the Latino community like War Room. We don't have anything that can guide us or at least put some steps in the plan. Y'all should look into this. I would love to be involved. I really would, or I'll do it for free, to show Latinos that we can support him and that we are supporting our president. Because I know back home in Texas, I do have some family members who disown me, but I have a lot of them, and I have a lot of friends that I grew up with that are hardcore Texans, and they are hardcore American. But we don't have nobody to put us in a position, or a voice like you guys have, to put us in a position to speak out against those Spanish-speaking medias, because if you watch them and you understand what they're saying, they hate this president. They want the caravans in, and I'll be damned with my dead body. We keep letting some more of these illegal aliens come in with all these illegal alien diseases that we're getting. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. I'm very blunt and very forward. I am not afraid to speak up. I wear my Trump hat. I wear my Make America Great hat. I wear the stars and the stripes on my heart and on my head every day, except for this week of the 49ers. But
Adrian, Adrian, if you hold, we want to get our producer in Richmond to get your number. We want to contact you. But Adrian, thank you so much for your call. If you just hold on, we're going to put you on hold and we're going to get your number. We'll make sure we contact Vish. If we can go to Daniel, if we can go to Paris, France, and Daniel. Daniel, are you there? You're on Vox Populi, line 1.
Yes, hello.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm great, thanks. Listen, guys, thanks. I've been tuning in every day. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Lieutenant Colonel Vindman and his brother Yevgeny. I think I saw on Breitbart this morning that Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman's twin brother, Yevgeny, has an office next to his, and he is the man who reviews anything that's going to be sent to the media from anyone with a security clearance. Therefore, he was the first man to read the manuscript of Bolton.
This is a fabulous point. You're following along at home. I'm going to turn to Schaefer in a second, but hang on. I got to ask you, Danny, before we go to Colonel Schaefer here. How did you hear about the show? We've got Australia, we've got South America.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm American, and I'm trying to keep up, and I'm a forever Trumper. I'm originally from Seattle. I went to school at American University in Washington, D.C.
Oh my God, that's a hotbed of deplorables. Not.
Well, you better believe, and not. Well, 40 years ago, I worked for the Republican National Committee, dialing for dollars from the basement, raising money.
Been there. That's such a miserable slog. God bless you for having done it. Is there anything more miserable? I hated doing that.
Soul wrenching.
Well, yeah. Well, I later I was traded. I became a stockbroker. If you can dial for dollars, raising money, you're dialing for stock. Anyway, in 1979, my buddies and I demonstrated in front of the Iranian embassy in Washington.
Amen. You guys got it during the hostage crisis.
And you're going to love this. So I grew up in Seattle.
Whereabouts in Seattle?
Bellevue. My father had the Chevy dealership there. Jason probably bought a truck from it.
You got the only two Republicans from Seattle, one on the line from Paris and the other in the war room.
Yeah, I'm from the mean streets of Linwood, so just a little further north.
Oh, that isn't that far away. Oh, that's probably where we went on Sunday evening for some Chinese restaurant. Anyway, you're going to love this. So I used to work for a gentleman who was Bill Clinton's best friend. They created Uranium One.
Oh,
they
yeah.
went to Kazakhstan. They bought the uranium mine.
Justra.
I used to work for that gentleman. I was in finance.
Hold it, Justra.
Frank Justra.
Frank Justra's got Harry and Meghan up there at his place, doesn't he? He's in the middle of that thing.
Yes. Well, anyway, they're all connected.
He's a piece of work.
That'd be too long to discuss all of that.
Reed
stuff.
Clinton Cash. He stars in it.
Oh, I know. I was inside on some of those things. Anyway, and then you're gonna love this. I've been to China 50 times. I was in Tiananmen Square the day that the MiG clipped the nose of the American spy plane, and the plane had to emergency land in China.
Yep.
I was number 25. There were 24 service people in that aircraft, and I was in Tiananmen Square that day. I've been to China 50 times, and icing on the cake, my wife is Ukrainian.
So before we let you go, why is it concerned? You're one of the guys, and Breitbart did a great job today of putting up the Vindman thing. Why does it strike you as odd that Vindman's brother would be the guy at the NSC on the legal side, the White House counsel's office, that would actually read and vet Bookdeal Bolton's book?
Well, it's weird. I mean, how is it twin brothers have offices side by side in the same building? And they're all part of this coup d'etat from the inside, whether it's Article 25 or everything else that they've been working on ever since. And Vindman, his smugness. But Vindman, he perjured himself. Now, I've been paying attention to this, and I'm no lawyer and I'm not a politician, but he said, and I quote, "I do not know who the whistleblower is." He perjured himself in front of the House. And if
there's more than
the
that.
President's counsel wanted to go after him about that, but that's small fry stuff,
Right.
so no one really cares. But then when you read in the media that his twin brother is the man who gets Bolton's manuscript for approval or an editing, you couldn't invent this stuff. If you gave it to Hollywood for a made-for-TV movie, they would throw it in the trash.
You'd be throwing it. Daniel in Paris, thank you very much. I appreciate you watching and listening to the show. I want to turn down to Colonel Schaefer. To back to Daniel's points. First off, I think his Vindman point on I don't know the whistleblower, Daniel, I don't think that's a small point. I think it's a major point.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
think-
stone cold lie.
It's not the only one, and I think that's someone should go through.
What do you mean by that? Do you think there's other lies?
Yeah, there's several others where he actually either did not say the truth or was asked a question and obfuscated. And in one case, I believe he actually made a false statement regarding knowledgeability of who said what regarding a whistleblower. And beyond that, I have to go back and check everything. But to the larger point of brother and brother, this is important for 2 points. First, we've talked about earlier the Soviet style of managing information. These guys inside are doing everything they can to control the nodes of information regarding who sees what. That's why this guy is in that position. Vindman's brother is in this position to review things. If you see what's coming, you can then give it to the people you want rather than actually do your job and clear it or not clear it. So we have to remember that. And I see that there's a comment in the Breitbart article about Chuck Cooper, the attorney, saying, "Oh my goodness, Bolton's attorney. Oh my goodness, the security review process is corrupt." Come on.
He's doing the Zoodalores. What happened here?
Like
Who
the
leaked
scene
this thing?
Scene in Casablanca. Oh, I'm shocked to find gambling going on here.
Right.
Here's your winnings.
Here's your winnings.
Here's your winnings. So
that's absurd.
Yeah.
And
So
Chuck Cooper, come on, that guy's a main player, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
So that's how absurd this all is, really. I mean.
Okay, let's go to. Can we go to James? James, I think it's from Columbia. Is it Columbia, South Carolina, or Columbia, South America? James, line 2. James on line 2.
How are you?
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Let me share with you just a little bit about me that I think you'll find very interesting. I am a Colombian in that I was born here in Colombia, but I grew up in the States. I became a naturalized citizen in 1987. My parents were the first generation of Colombia in my family to go to the States. I was 5. This was in the 1950s. When I became an American naturalized citizen, I became an American. I do not consider myself an American Colombian. I consider myself an American. I find it derogatory when people, CNN and all, they talk about an American Hispanic or an American Latino. No, I'm not none of those. I'm an American. Okay, now, what I wanted to say on top of that is this. I have never, ever voted in my life until Trump came along. At the age of approximately 64 was when I voted for the first time.
Wow.
The reason is very simple. The reason is very simple, and that was prior to Trump, I saw the Republicans and the Democrats as the same single party. If you watch what they did in relation to their vision, laws, regulations, it was all globalist, elitist. It didn't make any difference whether Clinton or Bush or whatever. It was all headed for the one world order until Trump came along. And he totally made a U-turn on that, and I saw it during his rallies. And I said, I'm voting for this guy. And I registered for the first time in my life, and I voted for him. I had never, ever voted even for a dog catcher, local, or anything. Never, until Trump came along. Now, in relation to the impeachment, the gentleman who was there talking about full-blown, I'm in agreement, and this is why. Yes, I believe that currently if they just cut it off here in the next week or 10 days, they're going to get an acquittal. But they're not going to do any type of major damage to the Democrats. If we want to obliterate and make the Democratic Party totally irrelevant for the next 50 years, this needs to go full-blown. They're going to lose in 2020. We are going to get the House back. We are going to keep the Senate, and Trump is going to be reelected. But if we don't do this full scale, the Democrats will still be irrelevant to some degree. But if we go full-blown, we will absolutely obliterate them. They will be insignificant. They're not going to have anything near close to even having a say-so in the House.
James, hang on for a second, because James, hang on, because we got to get other calls. But I want to ask you before I turn to Jason Miller. When you say full-blown, what did James, born in Colombia, South America, what do you mean by full-blown? Describe that to the audience.
Okay, what I mean is let the Democrats have whatever witnesses they want. But then that opens the doors to the Republicans doing the same thing. And what's going to end up happening as it goes on is that this thing's going to lead right back to Obama. And Obama's going to end up getting subpoenaed. And that's going to destroy him because we know he's behind the Ukraine and all of that and the money laundering, et cetera. And so it's kind of like the gentleman, I think it's Jason Miller, was saying, it's going to turn into a nightmare for the Democrats. They're going to open up a can of worms that they're not going to be able to shut.
James, we got to jump, and let me ask you one last question. You registered to vote at the age of 64. The first time you ever voted for anything in your entire life was for Donald J. Trump, the first time you pulled the trigger. Are you happy with your decision?
Oh, let me tell you something. This guy is absolutely... he's for America. He's for the middle class. He's for the American people. He's not a globalist under any circumstances. He's not an elitist. He's totally a populist, and that's what I've always wanted. But it never came. None of them. Reagan kind of came close, but at that time I wasn't interested in politics. But Trump makes Reagan look like a schoolboy.
Thank you, James. Fantastic. Great call. I want to turn to Jason Miller briefly. We're going to get to the rest of the board here. We've got tons of international calls today. James.
Sure thing.
Thank you, sir. James is, that's the heart of the Yolanda and James and Adrian are the heart of the deplorables.
They get it. That the Democrats are never going to stop. They're never going to stop going after President Trump, never going to stop with the impeachments. They'll be working with their allies in the media to attack President Trump up and through the 2020 election. And don't think for 1 second. I mean, they've already said, Democrats are already on the record, Barbara Lee, Al Green have already said they'll go after President Trump trying to impeach him in the next term. That's how far out they're gaming this.
Look, it doesn't matter if you're a minority. It doesn't matter if you're Hispanic. Doesn't matter if you're black. Doesn't matter if you're white. What they don't want, that's why I said Hillary Clinton, if she's focused on identity politics, she's going to lose. They don't want the economic nationalists. They don't want the populists to have a voice. Donald Trump is the instrument. He's given them a voice. That's why you see people like Yolanda say, I'm not going to back down. That's why you see Adrian, I'm not going to back down. That's why you see guys like James, I'm not going to back down. I believe this guy because the first time in my life I've got somebody in the room arguing for me.
Absolutely. And the other thing, too, is the deplorables get it. They realize that until we go and expose these people, just like I said earlier about Mueller, until we put Mueller in there as a witness, we didn't realize that this thing all fell apart. Until we saw Comey completely flummoxed. And I mean, man, the more that Jim Comey talks, the better we do. And then Vindman, then Morrison, then George Kent. Those videos, those montages that they showed during the 2 hours on Saturdays, I tweeted out, like, I haven't seen such good montages since the first Rocky movie. I mean, these things were just devastating to the Democrats. It killed all of their arguments.
But they say you're taking it out of context.
Right, exactly.
I know, it's like, you're taking it out of context. Right. How dare you use my words?
We got a couple minutes left. Let's go to line 3. JJ in Vancouver, Canada. You're on Vox Populi. How can we help you, sir?
Hey, calling from Vancouver, Canada. Guys, serious kudos. I just wanted to chime in on the issue of invoking executive privilege.
Okay. Yep.
And the White House assertions of it has been countered, as we all know, with the Dems and the media screaming cover-up. But if the White House subpoenas Joe Biden, dollars to donuts, you will watch him assert executive privilege. This is a legitimate and relevant subpoena that forces a Democrat to assert executive privilege. What's the result? It neutralizes the issue. It takes away a powerful talking point from the media and the Dems, and it also further legitimizes the SCOTUS's decision of any POTUS assertion of executive privilege over Bolton and Mulvaney and the others.
Let me ask you, you're saying he exerts executive privilege over his time as vice president when he was basically involved in the exporting of crony capitalism to the Ukraine. It's that executive privilege between really President Obama and himself as vice president?
Well, I'm thinking, from the little that I know, I would imagine that'll be what he's relying on. He's already said he's trying to preempt it by saying, I'm not going to appear, but let's force the issue and subpoena him and have him rely on executive privilege. Otherwise, that guy's showing up.
JJ, thank you very much. Fantastic call from Vancouver, Canada. Colonel Schaefer.
This parallels what they did with the Eric Holder Fast and Furious documents. They actually lost that, by the way, eventually. They tried to protect the internal documents of that.
He was heading up to the Capitol in Fast and Furious. Remember, they had to turn the car around because they were going to find him in contempt.
Right.
Remember?
Well, they did find him in contempt.
Find him in contempt. They were going to actually get the marshal out there, the sergeant at arms.
But certain documents were held back and under executive privilege by Obama, and the courts ruled against it by the fact it was not produced by the executive office of the president. It was Holder's documents, but they tried anyway to protect it. So I understand what the caller's saying. They've used this strategy before.
To JJ in Vancouver, Jason Miller, and Jack, jump in here. Do you think, why would you call Bolton now for executive privilege? Why would you look like we're holding anything back? The president said the other day he could say the stuff I said about foreign leaders. Why would we care right now when the Democrats have obviously worked in conjunction and weaponized this thing? They're just going to hammer him every day if we don't have Bolton up there.
Absolutely. And the other thing, too, is, we've seen what they have with this New York Times story. And they probably, Raheem and I were actually debating this earlier in the day about, because obviously they'll have another story. There's another act in this because, look, this is what the Javelin guys do. They know how to maximize book sales. So they'll have more things that they leak and do this. But think about this for a moment. This is your NSA director, your national security advisor. I want to know what things he was writing down. I want to know, did he ever record the president?
Right.
Did he ever think about that? They literally, now when I said kind of traitorous and with kind of with quotes around it earlier.
Jason Miller went there.
Imagine if he actually recorded the president on something. But I want to go to this because Bolton is not going to hold up. What we're going to find is a bunch of speculation, a bunch of conjecture that maybe there were 10 different things that he brought up, including the need for other allies to do it, the fact that he was tired of the corruption. They're the third most corrupt country on the planet. And we're going to find out that the way this has been portrayed in the New York Times, the way that it was leaked to the New York Times, is completely erroneous, and it's not going to hold up. And the Democrats don't have anything new. Otherwise, they would have dropped it months ago.
Okay, we're a couple of minutes away from game day. They're about to start here at 1 o'clock in the nation's capital. We're just yards away from it. The 45th President of the United States is being impeached. You're listening to War Room Impeachment, Vox Populi. We're going to be back at 5 o'clock today to give a kind of a mid-game assessment of where everything is. Go to our warroom.org. You can get everything you want to know. We've now got Pandemic up. We're going to be putting all the pandemic information. We got a bunch of special shows on Pandemic later in the week, and we thought we were going to maybe be winding down War Room Impeachment. It's just beginning, folks, because we're going to get some witnesses here. Stephen K. Bannon, Jason Miller, Colonel Tony Schaefer, Jack Maxey, the entire team at War Room. We will see you at 5 o'clock.